Greetings, this is Griff Ruby, the Nostalgic Catholic, with another review of the next Touched by an Angel episode. It is titled Cassie's Choice. This here is Cassie herself. She loves to play the flute, she loves music, and let us see. Let's introduce some of the other dramatis personae. You see on the one side here in blue, this is her mother. These two people are the Feldmans. Cassie has been pregnant by a boyfriend. We will see him shortly. Now she's giving birth, but obviously, as a teenager, she's in no position to take care of a baby. So she's already decided to let the baby be adopted by these kind people, the Feldmans, and that's what's going to happen ultimately. So I mean, with that, we pretty much know all of what's going to happen already, but there's a lot of interesting stuff in the way. So, okay, next dramatis personae, of course, is the baby itself once born. Now here is the boyfriend. That is the biological father of the baby. He still tried to stay with her, but he knows he's not going to try to raise a baby. He says, well, maybe a year or two I'll make money in my music, and I'll have albums out, and I can, be in a position to take care of a baby, and then we can start keeping our children. But for now, we have to put this one for adoption, and he very readily signed the papers and so forth. Okay. Well, she didn't want to see the baby, because she knew what would happen if she did. But somehow it ends up happening, and there she is, and now she's held the baby, she's seen the baby, she's going to take the baby. So she goes to a train station, I guess, and buys a ticket to as far as she could get, which is only... See, the boyfriend is at putting on a concert. He's got a band, and they've got a gig in another city, quite some number of miles away. She wants to go out to that city, but she doesn't even have enough money to get all the way there. But she still spends what she has on heading in that direction as far as she can. And the guy says, "Okay." Well, after she gets there, doesn't know what in the world to do next. Monica shows up and decides to help give her a ride and bring her to the place where the boyfriend his band is rehearsing, and she shows him, look at this baby. You yourself said this baby's awesome, and she is. And he's kind of looking at this. Great. What the hell do I do now? Why did you bring us here? What are we gonna do? What are you gonna do? You gotta be kidding. We agreed, Well, so he's kind of out of the picture, at least for the time being, I think. Meanwhile, she's got only a little bit of money left, and she's going to stay in this very cheap hotel. And you can see Monica in the foreground, and she's in the background holding the baby inside this very funky, inexpensive room. So to raise more money, she's having to do the one thing she did not want to have to do, and that's pawn off her flute. Look carefully. The pawnbroker is looking at a piece of her flute and evaluating what it's worth. He says it's probably worth. He offers $50. She said, "You got to be kidding! This thing was $1,000. My mom, spent 2 years paying this thing off." Well, what would your mom think of that? I like that because I like that pawnbroker. Well, he decides out of kindness. There's not much demand for flutes in this neighborhood, which I'm sure is absolutely true. But he agrees to his offer to $100 if he takes it. So, oops, wrong way. All right. Now we have another shot here. Once again, Monica and this time Tess are once again sitting on the rooftop, overlooking things. They seem to do that a lot in the first season or two. After a while, that kind of stops, but they do that a lot. And this person, while they're in there on the rooftop, they are visited by Adam, our angel of death, who has some rather bad tidings. This child has a sickness that will kill her if she doesn't get her to a hospital before the morning. So she's in the hospital and they're having to operate. And she's wondering, what do I do now? She runs off I'm not sure how she knows where to go. She sees Monica's car, actually Tess's car, but Tess very grudgingly allowed Monica to drive it. But Tess and Monica's not there, and she's going, Monica, where are you? All of a sudden, Monica appears off in the woods somewhere. I don't know what she was doing off in the woods, but anyway, Monica tells her, well, this child has a wonderful future. He's going to do this in the 4th grade and that as a sophomore and do these other great things and have a wonderful life and blah, blah, blah. And how do you know these things? I'm an angel. No glow, no nothing. So, as a sign of all that, Monica returns her flute. And at the end of the story, we're told how that comes about. She goes back home to her mother, who's just glad to see she's okay. But they both know they're going to have to return the baby. So, they return the baby, who receives a Jewish blessing. And here they all are, kind of watching. There's the mother, Monica's in the background. The boyfriend, so he does at least make an appearance. And Cassie are all there. Here's our couple, the Feldmans, with the baby they have now just adopted. And as one last little goodbye for the baby, she puts the baby down in the bassinet and plays a song on the flute before she lets go. And then we kind of get a decompression like this. It seems to have started from Southbound Bus. Almost everything, every one of these seems to have a little kind of an outro, a little chance for all of us to decompress as we see a little exchange between Monica and Tess, and with the Cadillac there, they're ready to drive off into the sunset and, off to the next story. Several more episodes in, something very interesting will be done with that. But for right now, that's kind of the usual stuff. Tess, however, is pointing at, which is, you put a scratch on this part of my car. I think she's got to be kidding. There's a scratch there, and there wasn't any. So, and then Monica explains as they drive off, how did you get the flute? Well, I gave the palm roper a cure for his sciatica. I cured it. Bam! A little magical there. And for that, he returned the flute. I guess a true cure for sciatica is worth $100. $119.94, mind you. Very well. That said, so it's a fairly straightforward story. Most of this, again, adoption is, it's good that the thing exists. And one thing I like about that one is they're not strangers. She knows who's getting the baby. They know who the baby came from. That's really how it should be. Because the baby's going to grow up and want to say, so who's my real mother, father? And they can say, well, let's go meet her. And they go there, and it's like, this is really great. It's like you get an extra, by that time, the time you're old enough to ask, her natural mother is old and mature, and maybe she's got a family and whatnot. And it's like, yeah, you can come here and visit anytime you like, We've always loved you. We've missed you so much. But we also knew you were in very good hands, and we hope and trust that's exactly how it was. And, the Feldmans certainly do look like very nice people, Now, they are Jewish. It's kind of an interesting little detail to throw in there. Probably more as a trial balloon than anything else. I mean, angels exist just as much in Jewish mythology, Jewish teaching as Christian teaching. So angels, I should say that's not. I don't mean myth like fake. I mean, the grand story, the mythos. Okay, but still, it's not a good word. Anyway, in the Jewish teachings as the Christian. So it's kind of, this is our first little glimpse that well, are we particularly of one thing or another here? Well, at any rate, when you put your child up for adoption, little variables like that will come in. And at the very least, it doesn't mean that the Feldmans are in any way bad people. I'm sure they will take excellent care of that baby, and all those wonderful things for the baby, the accomplishments and so forth will doubtless occur in the context of the story. I mean, it's a story. And so that works out fairly well. And that sums up pretty much the story. I'm sorry I didn't leave any real spoiler. Well, I kind of spoiled everything, but there's really not much suspense here. There's no real surprises. I guess the sickness of the baby can be considered one, but it's just kind of a thing that comes along to force the issue. Running out of money in the hotel was one thing, and then the additional thing of now this baby's going to need some expensive medical care. I mean, that's it. It's over. You've got to do what you'd already signed up to do anyway. So it's kind of interesting to see all that, and it's an emotional and good story. You really can care for these people. I mean, the boyfriend kind of halfway gets his act together, I guess, but who knows what'll be of him by the time the baby's old enough to ask. But other than that, it all seems to go reasonably well. Or, remember, this is a show meant to appeal to all sorts of people. And, we are off and running. That's all I have to say on that one. Thanks a lot.